Hey, listener, what's up? Thank you for pressing play on this bonus episode of the Jock and Nerd podcast. This one is for the Star Wars fans, as I'm joined by longtime listeners and Star Wars super fans, Dr. Adam Morris and Joe Henry.
Jock and Nerd!
We talk about our expectations for Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, the Disney theme parks, the future of the franchise, and more in this special super geeky
Geek Boner
Star Wars edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Tuesday, December 17th, 2019.
Hey, what's up? It's Taylor Gray, the voice of Ezra Bridger on Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up.
Hey, this is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. Welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast with your hosts, Anthony.
I'm cooking a pot roast in my pants.
Imran.
What the shit is this?
And Rug Boy.
Put a bullet in me, Imran.
Comic book and superhero, TV and movie news, reviews.
It's really bad. It's actually pretty bad.
It's so fucking bad. It's dog shit on a hot day.
I love this movie so much.
Come on, Imran.
I think he'll surprise us.
And whatever they choose.
Let him see your small dick. We all know it's not big.
Fuck off.
The Jock and Nerd podcast. Remember, Batman's got your back.
That's right. What's up? Batman's got your back, listener. Never forget. And welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Jock and Nerd!
My name is Imran, and I'm here bringing you a very special Star Wars bonus episode. Our version of a Star Wars holiday special. Only I hope it's not as awful. We'll see what happens. So I need some big Star Wars nerds to find me, and I didn't have to go any further than our awesome listeners. So joining me are two longtime listeners, longtime Patreon supporters. The first guy is the official science advisor of the Jock and Nerd podcast. It's Dr. Adam Morris, PhD. What's up, Doc?
Not much, man. Just very much looking forward to getting into this Star Wars episode.
That's right. I'm so glad to have you. And also joining us, my vitiligo brother from another mother and a huge Star Wars nerd, Joe Henry. What's up, Joe?
What's up, dudes?
That's pretty good. We don't have...
Geekerific.
Look, we don't have Anthony or the Rug Boy. Ruggs is a big Star Wars fan. He was feeling a little ill. Anthony is a casual. I didn't need casuals for this. I needed some hardcore Star Wars nerds. But both of them,
Bro, do you even podcast?
they're here with us.
Sloppy Jock.
Ruggs is always with us. So I want to start out by saying both of you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for being listeners and longtime Patreon supporters. Do you guys realize you guys have been supporting the show for a little over 30 months?
Oh, shit.
Adam Morris edging out Joe Henry by a couple of months. But Joe, you are like one of our top patrons. I can't thank you guys enough.
I love the show, man.
Yeah, I think he's a bigger contributor than me. So we'll.
He is bigger, but you are longer time, Adam Morris. So you both get a thing.
Is it about the girth or the length? I don't know.
You know, it's funny. You should ask about girth and length and width.
It's already going there.
Because we're just going to go there. Before we geek out about Star Wars, I got to thank our sponsor for this episode. And support comes from Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Listener, you ever find yourself thinking this?
My balls was hot.
Well, if you do, Manscaped has what you need. They got precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They got ball deodorant, ball reviver, stuff to make it all nice and tingly down there. And right now you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com. Use the code big heads, and maybe you won't have to say this to a person.
Get your hand off my penis!
Because, it'll be nice and trimmed and lovely and ready to go. All right, guys, that's out of the way. Let's geek out about Star Wars.
The Jock and Nerd podcast.
For the first half of the show, I kind of wanted to just talk about Rise of Skywalker. It premiered last night. The movie's not out yet, so we won't be spoiling anything, listener. We are a day away from this thing releasing. The review embargo hasn't even lifted. Social media reactions are out. And I wanted to talk about the future of the franchise from you guys, but we need to get a baseline. I need to know how big of a Star Wars nerd you are. Adam Morris, I'm going to start with you. How big of a Star Wars nerd would you classify yourself, sir?
I think I'm in the top, 10%. I know the movies well. I've read a bunch of the books. I've listened to a lot of the audiobooks too, so I have that. Upping my cred quite a lot is that I actually had a Millennium Falcon original 70s.
Oh shit, the toy from Kenner?
And I had an AT-AT, an AT-AT.
Oh, I always wanted one of those, and I never had one.
But we actually got them from a garage sale, old school style in the early 80s.
Nice.
We found them, and they were just they were all in one box, and I got this collection of stuff, and I was just old enough to care about Star Wars, and Return of the, again, I was born in 1980, right? Return of the Jedi came out in 83, and both my parents are very young, so my mom's first date was actually at Star Wars.
Oh, that's so romantic.
So, again, the whole thing kind of tied together. My parents really liked it. I was exposed to the toys, was young enough to still see the movies kind of be popular in their first wave, and then, carried forward, and I got into the comics. I didn't actually read any of the books. Joe Henry actually is one of the people that turned me on to the Star Wars books and listening to the audiobooks and stuff, so...
Damn. All right. Well, Joe, same question to you. From Padawan to Jedi Master, where would you say you fall, and what does this franchise mean to you?
It means a lot. It was one of the first movies I think I ever saw
I
was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
I didn't see it when it originally aired in theaters. I think I saw one of the re-releases before Empire came out, maybe in 79 when I was 4. And I instantly fell in love with it. That was for anybody that was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, that's one of the top franchises of all time. You're pretty much a Star Wars fan if you're born around that time.
Yep. So you have read, what is your extended universe knowledge? Did you continue reading the books and following?
Yeah, absolutely. I just been a diehard fan. I watched the movies over and over again, the original trilogy, and it left me wanting more. So I heard that they were making some expanded universe books that were going to be in canon at the time. They're no longer canon now. And they got this science fiction writer by the name of Timothy Zahn to come on board. He's a Hugo Award-winning science fiction novelist. I was like, oh, this sounds great. And he came out with Heir to the Empire, which was taking place after the events of Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And I remember reading it in high school in the 90s when I was still in high school, and it was fantastic. It was excellent.
Well, and back then that was the only place to get more story, the continuing adventures of Luke, Leia, and Han. That was it.
Yeah, absolutely, and the comics too.
It was way less expansive at that point too, so it was I think a bit more approachable. I don't know. By the time I was old enough to think about even looking into the books, there was hundreds of them, right?
Yeah.
So. I don't know.
It got crazy.
As much as the legends thing and them tossing a lot of history kind of bothered me, at the same time, it was kind of nice that they're kind of trying to hone in again on some story, but I don't know. I'm torn on that whole thing. But
yeah, my history is I remember going to see Jedi in the theater in 1983. I must have been 7 or 8. I know, Joe, we're about the same age. And I can't remember if I went back and if I saw a Star Wars movie on TV before that, maybe, but I vividly remember watching Return of the Jedi and just thinking it was the fucking coolest thing ever. To this day, I still love, the beginning where Luke does the little double cross and flips off the platform and R2 shoots his lightsaber and he catches it. That's still the most badass shit. Geek moment to me.
Oh yeah,
what a great scene!
It's so good.
It's exactly what you wanted, right? You were hoping he's going to come back as this badass. And he gave it to you,
and he did. And I remember I had the Jedi Marvel Comics Return of the Jedi at comic book adaptation, but it didn't have the cover. I don't know what happened to the cover, and I had this book for years, the cover had ripped off. But I think I'm probably the most casual now because I thought I was a Star Wars fan until fucking Force Awakens came out. And I was like, I was I'm not as big as into this as all these people. It blew me away. There's people at work that could name every fucking ship from every TV show and every different thing. Joe, are you like that? Are you all into this ship is from there? I know that ship and I know that ship.
There's a lot that I know because I did get a little into the collecting, and they, when you buy some of the toys, they'll have the name of ships you didn't know. The name of Jabba's sail barge is called the Kitana.
Oh yeah.
I did not get that, but apparently Kevin Feige purchased one of those expensive toys that just came out last year, I think.
The huge, massive.
Yes, the big brown one.
It's pretty awesome looking, but Jesus, yeah, you need a whole. Well, you do have dedicated rooms for toys, I guess, right, Joe?
I do now that we moved. Yes,
this right now is like what a great time for Star Wars fans, especially the last few months with The Mandalorian, with Jedi Fallen Order, with this Rise of Skywalker on the precipice of coming out. So I wanted to ask you guys, going into this now with everything that's out there, what are your expectations? Rise of Skywalker. Do you think there's a great article from the New York Times called Will Star Wars Stick the Landing? J.J. Abrams will try. Do you think it's even possible for him to stick the landing? Because this movie has a lot of things it has to accomplish.
You want to go first, Joe, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I hate to be the negative one, but no, it's going to be extremely difficult to stick the landing.
Like, what are some of the things this movie has to get done?
Too much. We're going into this movie with very little hype after The Last Jedi because everything was just kind of blown up. The main bad guy was killed off. The Resistance was down to like 12 people on a Millennium Falcon. So it's almost like you're starting the movie over from scratch.
Yeah,
there was no buildup. There wasn't any like unanswered questions at that point. So it's going to be difficult. I mean, a lot of people suggested that the movie should be split into 2 movies to kind of accomplish that, but they only have 1 movie to do it. So that's going to be difficult.
I mean, not only does it have to finish this new trilogy, it's finishing off a 9-episode saga that's been going on for 40 years. You have the death of Carrie Fisher, who, from what I understand, was supposed to be the Last Jedi and was going to have a bigger part. J.J. Abrams comes in after they let Colin Trevorrow go to direct the movie. When he made Force Awakens, he wasn't planning on coming back. He even said he had 3 less days that he had on this than he had on Force Awakens, and likened the process to almost shooting like television. I
mean, you can kind of feel that TV aspect to it a bit, right? Like that movie it had very short-term goals. And The Last Jedi, I have a much higher opinion than Joe, but I think it's a decent movie on its own. I think as part of like a longer saga like this, it was a mistake for most of the reasons that Joe just said. Like, it's not, leading into a final movie.
Yeah.
It was not a great setup, obviously, but I will say I don't think they did kill off the main bad guy. I don't think Snoke was ever meant to be the main bad guy.
Yeah.
So I think that scene, I kind of love that scene because it was unexpected, and it shows a bit of freedom in Kylo Ren as the character too. Because up at that point, they had again re-babied him into this kind of like subservient, not really the most terrifying of villains if you're kind of trying to make another Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine. So anyway, but back to the main point of the question, like, will he stick the landing? I think what we're going to get is going to be a satisfying and like good story and a good movie. Will it satisfy all of the Star Wars fans across 9 movies? I think that's an impossible task because we're all different generations of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the kids that love the prequels are looking for a totally different thing than we are as original fans. And the people that love this new prequel or this new sequel series are also looking for something very different than the original. So, like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's, but at the same time, I think we're going to get a cool story. I think he said very specifically he's going to wrap up a lot of the main points, while still leaving some open-ended stuff. And that's all they really have to do. Like, they don't really need to set up another movie, just leave it open. Like, you're going to have a Jedi, presumably some non-Jedi characters that are still alive, and just let that kind of sit at the end. Do a classic Star Wars cut ending where they're standing in the window of a spaceship or something and then cut it, So.
Yeah, those are some great points.
Yeah. Joe, do you think this new trilogy better or worse than the prequels to you? For you?
In my opinion, it's worse.
Oh, shit.
It's worse. Yeah.
Okay. Can you elaborate why? We were just talking beforehand. I kind of wanted to watch The Last Jedi before I started watching some of it. And I also just kind of forwarded through some of it. But the movie, it's a little maddening. Where do you rank The Last Jedi out of your favorite movies, Joe, of Star Wars?
It's my least favorite.
Oh, shit.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Well, that's good. And you're a huge Star Wars fan. So, there are people who do love this movie. And like you just said, Adam, there's some there's parts of it that are really beautiful and really cool, and then there's just other parts of it like, what are you doing? Like, this shouldn't be in this movie. So I always felt like it was like J.J. Abrams set up a bunch of dishes, and Rian Johnson just fucking smashed all the dishes. He just pulled them all down and smashed them. And now, what, JJ, what are you going to do? You're going to glue the dishes back, or are you going to bring in new dishes? What do you do with this?
But I think some of them are easy to fix, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The whole raised parents or nobody thing.
Yeah.
Is Kylo Ren being stronger than her and being able to manipulate her mind or something into seeing something that she didn't really see. You know what I mean? And like, I don't necessarily think her parents are going to be Kenobis or maybe even Palpatines, but maybe she's conceived with the Force or something like that, like crazy, like Anakin was. But like, it could just be her parents were somebody of at least some significance. But anyway, I don't know. Again, there is so much that needs to be addressed in that. But
is it important that we find out who Rey's fucking parents are, Joe?
You know, I don't know. I mean, they're doing something completely different with this trilogy, you know, and they basically set it up in the last movie that, you know, it doesn't really matter who her parents are. And this is just my own hypothesis. I mean, it could be that I have not read any spoilers regarding this theory, just so everybody knows, but it could be that she used like a clone. Mm-hmm. You know, they kind of set that up a little bit in The Mandalorian, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But I mean, that's totally fine too. She doesn't have to have any kind of lineage. Or she could have just been somebody that was born that was force sensitive that just happens to be really strong. You know, they set that up in prior lore also.
Like that kid with the broom at the end of the movie. I'm like,
yes, broomstick kid.
Again, the point of that was like, you know, maybe anybody could be the next Jedi Master or whatever, right? But
it was an odd way to end that movie, though. I was like, oh, are you going to end it on this kid using the Force to sweep the fucking floor?
For sure.
Really?
Well, again, like I said, it really did feel like they were both like filling in beginnings and middles of the story, but then they just jumped to the end and said, okay, it's over now. So
plus, Finn doesn't even meet Rey. I mean, Poe doesn't meet Rey until the end of the goddamn movie. So I'm not connected to these. Yeah, I'm not connected to these people.
No.
You know, that's a point that a lot of fans have brought up. You know, you've kind of fell in love with the original trilogy characters because they were like the main focus that you got to see like through their eyes what was going on, and they were together a lot. They were a crew. 3 movies.
Yep, they were buddies, and they loved each other, and they were trying to save each other. Right? Like
these people barely know each other.
Exactly. You know, and we're introducing too many new characters, you know, especially like in The Last Jedi with Holdo and Rose, and we didn't have enough time to really focus on who the main characters are supposed to be. So now you're going into this movie and there hasn't been a lot of character development for them. So that's been one of my critiques of these sequels, unfortunately.
Yeah, you get a lot out of Rey, and you get a decent amount out of Kylo Ren, and you kind of seen his backstory a bit. But like Finn, we still know nothing about. So like and JJ has actually said that he needs to fill in the backstory and then conclude his story in this movie, which is crazy.
Wow.
And and Poe Dameron, they did a bunch of stuff in the comics with his family, which is interesting. Like he was born on a planet, and he was born underneath or within the proximity of a force-sensitive tree, which is one of the reasons that he's so good at being a pilot. And right, Joe? Have you read those comics?
I didn't. I have not been reading the sequel trilogy comics, but I did hear something about that. Maybe I was talking to you about that recently.
Luke, I believe, and I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read this, but Luke at some point needs a ride to like a planet, so he recruits a pilot who happens to be Poe Dameron's mother to plant a force tree. What he's taken on a planet.
Oh,
and then he basically asks her to stay there to tend to this tree, and that it'll embetter her life. And so I think she raised Poe around that force tree, which is why
he has residual force powers.
Yeah. So again, there's all kinds of cool stuff that they could bring into it, but again, you don't want to muddy the waters, but you do want some connection to these characters.
Well, this is what I've been confused. Like, what are you doing? Like, we wanted to see the old characters. You brought back these guys. They're older, and it's just been kind of clunky bringing back the old characters, introducing the new characters, and now in this last one, he's like, hey, remember Lando? We got him. He's back. Remember that? He's coming back. Everybody's back.
Well, and characters like Chewie and C-3PO and R2-D2 have had basically no connection to the story outside of little bit parts where they had something to do.
Yeah, they're just kind of there.
And of course, we just want to see those characters there to tie it together, but like, I still want something. You know what I mean? Like, it's great that Chewie's now Rey's co-pilot, And again, the moments where Han Solo got killed and he was blasting Kylo Ren with his like massive bowcaster, that was pretty badass.
Yeah.
But give the furry bastard something else to do, for Christ's sake.
Well, I mean, he almost ate a porg.
Yeah, but he was comic relief in the last movie, right? That was.
No, I know that's one of my bones of contention.
Although
too.
that was, again, having watched the movie the other day,
Yeah.
that was during a really badass scene where it's showing off the fact that he is a crazy pilot.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
it would have actually been a more impactful thing to just show him by himself finally at the controls of that ship, like mastering it and being the guy who was in charge of it. You know what I mean? Like it's always been kind of he's the second fiddle, but.
He can fly that shit if he wanted to. Poe is also in the Star Wars Resistance cartoon, so you can get a little bit of him there. And yeah, the beginning of Last Jedi, you know, he was doing some sick flying moves. It was kind of cool.
They make him a really unpleasant character.
Yes,
in that movie.
very unlikable. He's just like, I know. What? Nobody wants to tell him what's going on. He's just going to fucking mutiny all over the place. Doesn't give a fuck. So some of the things that got me concerned about Rise of Skywalker is the review embargo lifts the day before the movie comes out. That usually is a telling sign. What would you guys think?
Yes, but at the same time, today again, it was a pretty. I would say it skewed positive in the.
It did, yes.
Today.
From the premiere, it premiered last night, and there's the early social media non-spoiler reactions. Overall positive, but I'm seeing a lot of mixed stuff too.
Again, I don't know. I think we're gonna get again, like I said, like a pretty J.J. Abrams kind of Force Awakens style, both trying to tease the nostalgia out of everything, and make the old school fans happy, while still applying some new stuff that may or may not fit with that, you know. But I expect a fully entertaining movie.
I want it entertaining, and I want it satisfying enough to be like, yes, this is the end of the Skywalker saga, and now we can fucking move on past this and tell us some of the story. You guys have your tickets already, right? Let me guess.
Not yet.
No.
Actually, that's not true.
Shit.
My buddy bought us some laser IMAX tickets for Toronto actually yesterday.
Whoa, Joe, you got your tickets?
I do not have my tickets yet. I don't have any friends that want to go.
Just go see it by yourself. I actually bought tickets last week for the Thursday, and they're still, you know, they said there was like huge pre-sales. There were still seats everywhere. It didn't seem so. They're estimating a domestic opening of like 170 to 200 million, and a global opening of 450 million, which would put it on par with The Last Jedi. That's a lot, but it's like lower. Like, would you expect the opening weekend to beat The Last Jedi, or be about the same?
No, less for sure.
See, I was thinking it was going to go more, but now I don't think it will. I think it's 220 was Last Jedi. It may match that.
I'm thinking on the lower end.
They may have they have set some hardcore Star Wars fans like Joe. Even like Joe does not have a ticket to this movie.
That's amazing, right? See, this is what they've done to Star Wars fans with all this. So look, I can't wait to see the movie. But now this movie comes out. Kathleen Kennedy is in charge. I do not envy her position. Where do you go next? The scheduled date they have, they're trying to hit a 2022 release, but they don't have a director. This is all up in the air after the Game of Thrones guys left. That was going to be their movie. This may be the last time we see Star Wars on screen for a while, which I on the big screen for like 3 years, which actually I'm probably okay with.
I'm totally okay with it. I'd rather them take the time to craft a really good story than to make it rushed like the sequel trilogy is right now.
Yeah. Were you guys excited when first Disney announced we're going to be giving you a Star Wars movie every year? And at the time, it sounded great.
Yeah, but again, very quickly you started to be like, eh. Like, even the Marvel movies, and I'm a huge comic fan.
Yeah.
Like I don't see them all in the theaters.
Yeah.
You know? Like I didn't see Ant-Man and Wasp in theaters, even though it's a great movie. But I don't need to spend $20 to go see that movie. Like it's
a good point. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like again, I love comic books and I love those movies and I like those characters and that movie was great.
I mean, Marvel's that now they're giving us 4 movies a year for 3 years.
That's going to be a lot. Yeah.
12 movies in 3 years. That's a lot.
But back to your original point.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars, like again, it's a different.
Yes.
And they didn't treat it that way. They treated it like they could treat Marvel.
Yeah, and that didn't work. It was too much, too soon.
I think they were trying to build in the same model, and it fell apart before it even got started. And they fucked up a couple key things, like that Solo movie and other stuff.
Yep. And it was just too close to each other.
Yeah, for sure. Again, Solo came out, what was it, like 3 months after
5
Last
months
Jedi?
after Last Jedi. Just 5 months.
And I think Solo really did suffer because people were pissed off at Last Jedi. Like it's
And then they had to fucking shoot the movie twice because she fired the guys like 5 weeks before they were done, or 5 weeks into shooting. She's got to fucking redirect her up this thing. So,
I wonder if we'll see that. I would love to see some of that, like, original script or like
the Lord and Miller version of Solo. It's, the movie is all right. It's watchable. It's kind of fun.
Oh, it's not terrible at all.
It's not as offensive as, would you say The Last Jedi is more offensive than Solo?
I think it intentionally in some ways went out there to be a bit more offensive. I really do think Rian Johnson really was trying to stir the pot intentionally. He wasn't just trying to make a good Star Wars movie. He was trying to do something drastically different to shake up the status quo, which doesn't fucking always make sense in the situation like he was in.
It's just weird. All the people Kathleen Kennedy has fired, and he pretty much got to do whatever he wants.
Joe, did you like Solo, Joe? I don't know if we ever actually talked about that much.
Yeah, so Solo was just okay. I think they made 2 mistakes with that movie. The third act just didn't really the way they wrapped up the movie, I wasn't too crazy about.
Yeah.
Darth Maul appearance was great.
Yeah.
But the other problem I think they're doing is people want to see like a continuation of the story, right? Like always doing a prequel is not always a great idea. And let's remember too that they just killed off Han in The Force Awakens, and now we're going to do a prequel.
Yeah.
People want to have a little mystery of what's happening to their main characters. And, if you already know how he ends, it's not as exciting to see this movie because you're like, well, we know he's going to be okay because we already saw where he died.
He's not dying.
We already know the finale of it.
That's actually a point I never actually thought about, was that they literally put out a movie a year and a half before, or 2 years and a half before that, where you watched him get a lightsaber through the heart at the age of 70-something.
Yeah.
So
you're like, we know how this ends.
There's no real risk there. They're gonna have a good time.
That same thing worked for Rogue One. Like, you knew how that movie was going to end.
That movie was
amazing.
That movie was largely saved by that last 2.5 minutes of Darth Vader shredding those rebels.
Which was not the original ending, too. They came in and they told Gareth Edwards, you could stay home. We're just going to redo the last act here.
So my dad, again, who was a teenager in the era of the original Star Wars and loved Star Wars, had never seen Rogue One. I showed him that scene at Christmas. I think it was, the year it came out.
Yeah.
Because I had just seen it. And he was like, oh shit, I guess I have to go see this now. I was like, there's literally no more lightsabers or like anything to do with any of this in the movie, though.
Just that.
Just so you know.
It's like the most badass Darth Vader you're ever going to see. My problem with Solo was I didn't think all that shit happened like in the same week. Like he gets his name and the Falcon and he meets Chewie and does the Kessel Run. Oh, that happened in like 3 days? I didn't know that.
And the blaster. And the
blaster and the fucking dice and everything all happens at once.
Yeah. And just some stuff just
doesn't need to happen like that.
Seen. Like, I don't know if we needed to see the Kessel Run, and seeing how he got his name was kind of a little cringy. But
some things left mysterious are fine.
But going forward, like something at the birth of the Jedi Order and like the early parts of like, again, that first person that discovered,
that would be cool.
They could manipulate something. Again, that doesn't need to be the focus of the movie, but give me 10 or 15 minutes of that, and then show me that person teaching a school full of kids.
Yeah.
About it, and then show me the Jedi Order being, hundreds of people in a situation. The Sith, at some point, somebody goes bad. They always would. You know what I mean? Like, and then you end up with the Sith, and that original part of the story isn't even that well explored in the books. I don't think. Like, there is like some descriptions of the times when there was hundreds of Sith and hundreds of Jedi, or maybe thousands. They were like a civilization of themselves,
in a religion.
And then, again, in the second part that I would like to see is, again, a couple thousand years ahead or a couple hundred years ahead. I don't know what the timeline is exactly, but the middle of the Old Republic kind of era where there was still many Sith and then many Jedi.
Yeah.
And it would be cool to do like a trilogy in that era and then wrap that up with the Darth Bane story in like the last movie or two where he eradicates all the Sith and creates the rule of two.
Whoa.
And then that feeds into the main storyline. But like the Darth Bane stories are actually fucking really incredible, I think.
Who is Darth Bane? And it's not Bane from Batman with a mask on.
So he was like a Sith Lord at the time of, there was a point where he basically got fed up with the Sith Lords because again they were spread out across the galaxy as like lords, like a ruling class essentially.
Okay.
But there was still a planet originally as well that had a race of Sith, and anyway, whatever. But like the Sith Lords forget that they come from this planet, and Bane needs to teach them a lesson. So he basically creates like a force bomb that kills them all, except for him and his apprentice. And then he creates the rule of two because Sith are ignorant and they're always going to be greedy. So essentially, he creates, again, the rule of two, which is just the idea that there's a leader, and then there's somebody that wants that power and is going to kill that person eventually, but they will take it on their own apprentice and keep the rule of two going.
That's pretty sick. I like that already.
And then again, in the books, it's a really cool, the way it all kind of, like, the genesis of it all is really well told. And there's actually, even on YouTube, if you just search for the Darth Bane trilogy, there's 3 books. They're actually very good, and the voice acting in them is actually different characters, and it's really well done. It's worth listening to if you sit at a desk all day and edit stuff or something like that.
They should just get Tom Hardy to play him in a movie, and he's already got the voice. The Force commands you, it does.
It's actually, yeah. Again, you could see at some point he gets covered in these like alien beetle things and whatnot, and yeah, you could see that being actually a Tom Hardy role very, very specifically.
He can nail it.
But his apprentice is Zatanna, who's also like a double-bladed lightsaber, like badass, like Darth Maul kind of style. So again, there's a lot of appeal to it. Again, there's a male and a female. Like I don't know. Again, I think it would be a cool part of the story, and it still does tie to the main.
It sounds like there's a lot of stuff they can dig from. Joe, where do you think the future is? Is it on the small screen? Is it outside of trilogies? Do they need to do trilogies moving forward? What would you like to see?
I would like to see a mix of both.
Okay.
I think Mandalorian is off to a good start, and they could definitely do more on TV, episodic. But they should still do movies. People get excited about movies, and people still like the cinema experience. But I think they need to create new characters. I think they can do some movies like Dr. Morris is suggesting. Yeah. Dig into some of that lore. There's so much media out there that they could pull from to do stories like that are great. But if they do something like set 1,000 years in the past that's not talked about, Jedi and Sith, that would be great. Create new characters, get away from all the original trilogy characters and start something new.
But I do think there still has to be some kind of tie to some familiarity. You know what I mean? Like it's
does it need to be a Skywalker connection for it to be a Star Wars movie?
Definitely not that. But just
they could do Yoda when he was like a Padawan or something. Or
I would pay a lot of money to see that.
I know, wouldn't that be great? You could see the Jedi Order, maybe in its infancy, like, hey, this is when the Jedi Order was at their peak before there was, and then their downfall, like it was in Revenge of the Sith.
Or the dude who created the first lightsaber. Like, who is this guy? How did this work?
That's referenced in the old school stories. But Joe, actually, one last prequel thing that I will say that you may have read as well that I think is worth exploring would be the Darth Plagueis thing.
Oh, yes.
Because again, like Palpatine is a fascinating character, and the book is more or less about Palpatine. But it's how he was identified by this crazy like business wielding Sith Lord who was functioning in the shadows, and he was like this alien race. He'd been alive for I think a couple hundred years or whatever. But as soon as he met Palpatine, he knew he was going to be his like apprentice. And again, it's about the whole thing. And again, the voice I think is incredible. The guy that plays Palpatine in the audiobook sounds like him,
like Ian McDiarmid. Wow.
And there's a point where his master Plagueis gets like his voice box ripped out, so he ends up with a Darth Vader kind of style voice.
Shit.
And they actually do it. Like it sounds like a robotic voice. And anyway, really like immerses you in the story. And again, the story behind the Darth Plagueis thing is great. Like Ian McDiarmid outlines it in the Revenge of the Sith, right? When he's telling Anakin the story.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got almost that whole scene memorized.
Yeah,
it's
me
so
too.
Great. Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I thought not. It's a Sith legend. Love it. Love that movie.
And then, he was killed in his sleep by his apprentice, who ends up being him. So,
which they kind of allude to that, but I guess they talk about it in the books then.
But no, actually, in the book, that's not how he does. But
okay. Spoiler.
Yeah, but it's still Sidious's like manipulations that cause it. So
I do think it's cool how, you've seen the trailer, they're bringing back Palpatine, everybody knows this, but how Palpatine has kind of been the one through line through all the movies.
So we kind of talked about this before, and I have some theories on this whole thing, but I mean, it comes from the books too, Joe, right? Like Palpatine doesn't vanish. The premise of all of Star Wars is cloning.
Yeah. There was some talk about it in some of the extended universe books for sure.
But again, the premise of the entire movie series, if you think about it, is the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they go out of their way in the prequels to say, I think it's like, I counted it actually, like 10 times in the last two movies, how good of a cloners the Kaminoans.
Yeah, the Camino, whatever. Yeah,
the Camino
Yeah.
species
Yeah.
are. So I think Snoke was some kind of imperfect clone or like creation of the Emperor.
Yeah, because I'm still confused who he was. Like, that's what, because his face is all fucked up. Like, he wasn't fully cooked.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
it. I think it's like, every sci-fi movie we've seen where, again, it hasn't quite fully formed yet. But he's functional, and he has the Force powers, because the Force doesn't need a full body. It just needs something that can shoot through. You know what I mean?
So he may be a clone.
I think we're going to see at some point in the movie, I think we're going to see like a bunch of tubes with Palpatines and Snokes in them.
Okay.
And also, again, potential spoilers. No, I've not heard this anywhere. This is my own theory.
Okay.
It popped into my head
Speculation.
yesterday.
This is just speculation.
But because we're dealing with nothing but clones in a lot of these movies, like, you know how we've heard that Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, like, people were on set. We assume they were going to make Force ghosts like appearances. What if there are actually clones of them as well that make an appearance? Because again, there's been evidence that they can clone Jedi and like move their body, their essence into it or whatever, right? So I don't know.
Damn, they're like Dr. Manhattan and fucking Watchmen and shit.
I mean, I think that would open too many doors, and so maybe it's not realistic.
I've heard there'll be a lot of voice cameos too, possibly in Rise of Skywalker. So
well, I think I do think we're going to see like an array of Force ghosts.
Yeah.
Show up.
Yeah.
Going all the way back, probably maybe into they might even like CGI some Alec Guinness, like old Obi-Wan.
That would be great. Get rid of fucking Hayden Christensen. Put Alec Guinness back in there.
Well, Hayden Christensen, Darth Vader.
Oh, right. They can be both there. Duh. No, keep Ewan McGregor. Actually, put them all. Get the Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness and the old Darth Vader and Hayden Christensen.
Well, I think the Force ghosts will show up at some point to support Rey and Kylo or whatever when they're fighting the Emperor, but I think they're going to be limited in their abilities. But like again, I do feel like we might see like again the Emperor was obsessed with infinite life and cloning, right? So
yeah. He's pulling the strings.
And again, all you need is a skin cell. Like, and he had Darth Vader fucking disassembled on a table in pieces.
That's true. Could have stashed some away. All right. Well, this show, this episode is going to drop when the movie comes out, and we'll get all our answers very soon. Very excited. Let's take a quick break here, fellas, for some promos. We'll come back and geek out about more Star Wars shit right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Transmission commencing.
This is Wookiee Radio.
Translated for the Wookiee impaired. I like that Wookiee.
Your hosts, Ken, Derek, and Mike, bring you the latest news and commentary from the far reaches of the galaxy.
Hold it. I said hold it.
Subscribe today on iTunes and Stitcher.
I just assumed he's a Wookiee.
Start listening today, and remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
You have to watch it. It's so good.
It was all right. Your friends may have decent taste in movies, but their incoherent reviews are getting annoying.
I don't know. I just didn't like it.
Looking for a new podcast?
Join Time Sensitive, where we break down the recent movies you've heard of, but may have missed.
Spoilers included.
And we get it. You're busy and can't see everything, but are you really going to track it down a year later?
We take the time so you don't have to.
Find us on Twitter @TSMoviePod and find out what we're watching.
I'm Sam.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Kate, and we're three friends and armchair movie critics. Seriously, invite us into your living room.
Kate, stop.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Time sensitive, because you deserve better.
Doc and
Listener, if you've enjoyed the show and you've been listening for a long time, you should join the fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon, and you get bonus content. You get a whole RSS podcast feed with post shows, instant movie reactions, whole episode. The shows come out early. Lots of fun stuff. And again, thank you, Adam and Joe, for being such great patrons. It means so much to us. Also, I want to tell the listener your guys' story. It's like not you guys were listeners, did not know each other, met through the show, and like you guys are now like really good friends and you chat all the time. Joe was telling me about some drunken text messages. Who was sending who? Who was drunk messaging who?
That probably happened on both of our ends.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, we were geeking out over, I think we were talking about Endgame and, theories about the time travel, conundrums. So it was a lot of fun.
I love that the show has like made friends. Adam.
Joe is one of my few online friends that I actually like converse with outside of, our group or anything like that.
That's amazing.
Again, I recognized that he was an EDM DJ. He loved Star Wars and all the other geek stuff, and we just started. And then we found out we both like poker and like a whole bunch of other things. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love hearing stories of our listeners. Like when I see them interact on Facebook, and I'm like, those people didn't know each other before this show, and now they're good friends.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to find people that you could, geek out with and talk about movies. And when you have somebody that likes the same things that you do, it's fun to discuss them. So
I will say, Joe, I really enjoy the photos of your stacks at the poker tables as well that you see.
Yeah, Joe's big time.
And in the middle of a poker game, we're having a conversation about like Marvel or Star Wars or something, and I'm like, shouldn't you be focusing?
And he's like, "Look at my coins."
Absolutely.
Look at my
Sometimes
coins.
it's boring waiting for a good hand.
High roller. Well, look, that's why we have our Facebook group, Jock and Nerd Nation. It's this community we've built. Is this how we are all like-minded people? Everyone kind of comes together, and it's fantastic. So join the fan club, jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Okay, we got to talk about The Mandalorian, the first live-action Star Wars show. For years, everyone wanted a live-action Star Wars show, and all we had was the goddamn holiday special. It's the only time Star Wars was on TV, live-action, and Disney Plus drops this show. So we're on episode 6. There's 6 out. I think this week's episode comes out early. It comes out Wednesday, fellas. You guys know that?
I didn't know that, actually. No.
Yes,
just found that out.
January 18th. So it'll be out tomorrow as we record, because then Rise of Skywalker comes out, and then the following Friday, the last episode of season 1, Mandalorian.
I'm very curious to see if there's a tie-in. Is there going to be?
I think there's got to be a reason they did that.
Absolutely, there's going to be something, like just a person or a place they visit or something.
I think it's easier to put something in the show that was in the movie than the other way around.
Maybe the Camino cloners.
Yes, that guy was in
one
the
guy
show.
did have that Camino lapel.
So
that would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Let me hit the spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Because we need to talk about what this show is about, because it's a great show. Don't get me wrong. Right? I think we can all agree the fucking is shot well. The production's great. The acting's great. The fucking music. I love the music. It's the guy who scored Black Panther, Ludwig Göransson, doing the music for The Mandalorian. Baby Yoda is now everyone's god.
That was unexpected.
That was unexpected, and the fact they kept that a fucking secret.
But don't let me derail you, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, so this most recent episode, the longest one yet, 42 minutes. We finally get the Bill Burr episode. I had been waiting for this. Great episode, great action. There is no plot to this goddamn show.
Oh, shit.
That's what kind of frustrates me.
I feel like this brought in some plot, though, because there's like this ongoing kind of conflict he has with the guild of mercenaries and assassins or whatever.
Right, he's looking for non-guild work.
And then he has these people, and he gets put in this team with somebody. Everybody on that team is somebody he's fucked over in some other way.
He used to have. This is his old team. This is what he was doing,
which is cool. So again, I think they're still building the story, which is a bold ass maneuver 6 episodes in. I totally agree with your comments on the last episode, or on your review episode of The Mandalorian, when you guys said, there hasn't been real plot progression, but it's all been kind of building the universe up a bit, and about the aesthetic and the places and the spaces that they're at.
Yeah.
But the last 2 episodes need to have guts to them.
This better be all the plot in the last 2 episodes. But have we been spoiled? Remember when TV was like this? It's like a throwback to episodic television. There were one-off episodes. There was no overarching plot. But now I think we expect more. Joe, what are your thoughts on this last episode in the series overall?
Yeah, I think Ruggs might have been commenting on this on the last episode that you guys were talking about. I really like the way the show started, but the last couple episodes seem a lot more like standalone, like filler episodes. They're still really good and I enjoy them, but I liked how the plot was like just progressing. Like the first 3 episodes, were culminated where he's like, screw it, I'm rescuing this baby, and like all hell breaks down and the Mandos come in. That was a great episode. So I think they're going to pull it back around and finish up the series, but I would have liked it a lot more if they made it like one overarching plot, and there weren't these like side missions.
They're like the X-Files, like kind of one-off monster of the day episodes. Yeah. And again, I think you guys made that comment in the episode. It really is like that. Like there's just these standalone, like you need to finish something. It starts and it ends.
But they're just spinning their wheels, and it's like nothing's happening. On the one hand,
but I do kind of like that though, because there is still that like that satisfaction of like, hey, there was a fucking something that happened at the beginning of this episode that was wrapped up at the end of it. So like, I'm kind of torn a little bit on the whole concept.
I mean, I look forward to every episode every Friday. Like I want to watch it right away. It does make the show, like talking to Anthony, I appreciate, like he appreciates that it's very digestible. It's short. It's not heavy in the lore, but it's also very predictable at the same time.
Yeah. If they do pull it around and they have, like, remember how it ends? You had like the bounty hunters got locked up.
Yeah.
If they do pull us around into the end of the season and the characters come back, into some plot at the end where everybody's hunting for Mando and there's like a payoff to it, then absolutely it's going to be a lot better of an episode. So maybe there's going to be some payoff at the end.
I mean, do you think we're going to see, because these cameos have been one and dones, and it's weird how the one episode before they set up Ming-Na Wen's Fennec. She's down, and then you hear boots, and everyone's like, "Oh, that sounds like Boba Fett's boots," and they cuts to black, and then they don't go back to that. We haven't seen anyone for more than one episode, except for Werner Herzog. Yeah, what's going on?
But I think there's going to be, again, in the next couple episodes, I think we're going to see the tie-in of a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah,
again, it makes sense. Like the character you're talking about, the drop shock trooper or whatever that was kind of abandoned in that village, and then we have these. It was Bill Burr the only one that survived the last one? I think
no, they all were locked up. Yeah.
They all lived. Yes.
Yeah, there's only a couple, I think, that died from that X-Wing attack. That was pretty badass, though.
It was great.
Oh, yeah.
He knew he was going to get double-crossed, so he sent the cavalry in.
Well, that whole base gets destroyed, where Ran is.
Well, just the visual, too, when the X-Wings are coming in and the ship flies between them, and it's just like this, like, oh, shit, there they are.
Those X-Wing pilots were 3 of the directors of the show. It was Rick Famuyiwa, Dave Filoni, I think, was one of them, and the girl was Deborah Chow. It was like three directors of 3 episodes were the X-Wing pilots. I love seeing Bill Burr, because I gotta imagine there's a dude with a Boston accent out in space somewhere, just fucking swearing.
Well, and also just Bill Burr's attitude.
He's so great.
See that?
I wanted him to swear so badly.
He is he's a Han Solo type character, right? He's just like, I'll do what I need to do to get things done. And
did you guys hear the story how they got Bill Burr on that?
No, how is he in this show?
So I guess like somehow he was at a party that Jon Favreau was at, and Jon Favreau was talking to him, and he was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I want you to come on The Mandalorian. And Bill Burr, like, if you're a fan of his, like, he's kind of shit all over Star Wars before. Yeah. He was like never into it. He's like, I've kind of made fun of Star Wars, is what he said. And Favreau was like, yeah, but that's why it'll be great. Come on, do it. This will be perfect. He's like, all right.
And I'm sure he had a lot of fun on the set, right? I mean,
he did.
The thing that really blows me away about the show is again, you mentioned this earlier, I remember, like the aesthetic of it is bang on. Like it's futuristic but dirty and broken. Yeah, and
it's dirty and gritty. Yeah,
and that's what the Millennium Falcon was always, that filthy. Like, okay, fuck. It's the fastest ship in the galaxy, but it also breaks down every other.
But it's a hunk of junk at the same time, just like his fucking ship, who he's had to fix 3 times already. He's got to get money to fix the goddamn ship.
In the last episode, I kind of enjoyed the fact that they're like, okay, this thing is so old that it's actually off grid.
Yeah, which is why they wanted to use it. I also love the other line where they're like talking about what he looks like, and he's like, he probably looks like a Gungan under that helmet.
But it's like I don't know if you guys have any of those friends, like the old school friend that only uses a flip phone because they don't want the government tracking them. You know what I mean? It's just like this.
It's a retro hipster.
It's old school technology that just has its own.
That is the way.
Yeah, way.
This is the way.
Obviously, I mean, that whole episode that was dedicated to the history of the Mandalorians and that kind of ceremonial scene is going to come back, right? Like, I mean, that'll be. I'm assuming in the last episode is going to be a big scene of him coming back to the Mandalorians, and again, we'll find out what's going to happen to the Baby Yoda character, which I hate calling him Baby Yoda, to be honest, but they've never identified his species in any of the stories or any of the comics or any of anything. It's just there's only a few of them. They show up here and there, and they're super strong with the Force.
So, do you think the fact that apparently, so they said he was 50, and that's about the time Anakin was born? Also, he was born. Is this a balance in the Force? If Anakin was an immaculate conception birth, and then you had to make an opposite balance.
Did somebody do the math on that? I hadn't actually heard that.
I think it was apparently the same year.
So he would have.
Think about
he would have been. Yeah, he would have been born the same year as.
That makes sense,
Vader.
Right? Yeah, that's what I heard. So that's what I read somewhere.
And so he would have been conceived by the midichlorians as well, or something.
I guess.
But again, it's the difficulty with the Yoda character is again there's no they've intentionally avoided ever saying anything about it.
Yeah. Lucas wanted it that way.
Partly Lucas is doing. Yeah. Like he didn't really want a backstory for Yoda.
But we do know that they're in the Galactic Senate because they have a pod in the Senate, and that they existed in ET, where ET species.
Yeah, they were there.
Actually,
yes.
And then, but then ET was on Earth, and ET recognized a action figure of Yoda.
That's right.
On the shelf, and a Millennium. I think there was
a deep cut,
and I think there was a Millennium Falcon or something on the shelf as well. But he actually goes and he has a weird reaction to these.
Wasn't someone dressed like a Star Wars character in that Halloween scene?
Yes, I think so. That's right.
That's Yoda, and he freaked out.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So. Again, retrospectively, you can tie that all back into the idea that there is a whole species, but they're never mentioned.
Well, the only other one you see is on the Jedi Council was
Yaddle.
Yaddle?
Yeah.
Yaddle?
Yeah.
I think it was Yaddle. Yeah.
Which she has one line at some point, right? And that was it.
Yeah, just the side character. But maybe,
and in the extended universe, Joe, too, there is another. There's a more hardcore Yoda, who is the aggressive one.
Well, there's more badass Yoda.
Yeah, but he doesn't go dark. But he veers to that kind of side of things, and then eventually he gets killed. I forget what the story was, but there's been again, and if you actually do some research, there's 3 or 4 of them in total, but the 3 are the main ones: Yoda, Yaddle, and
this one. I mean, people are calling the show the Baby Yoda show. This is how out of control this fucking is, and I kind of like that this last episode wasn't heavy on the Baby Yoda for once.
So he was just a little character for the kids to play with and stuff, right? While that was happening, but or he was actually. When they found him in the little compartment, they weren't automatically
they didn't know what it was.
No, because he's just a baby green.
He does he fries the droid, which was pretty badass. Before Mando gets the drop on the droid, Clancy
and he
Brown
may not be a baby.
Yeah. Why is it? Does he talk? He should talk.
I also loved how when he lifted up the beast. What was it called, Joe?
What is the name of that fucking rhino character, Joe?
Oh, man. So I think it was supposed to be the same species as the one that they showed in Attack of the Clones that was in the arena.
The Obi-Wan fought or whatever. Or that Anakin rode. Anakin rode.
I can't remember the name of it. One of the other monsters was called Reek. I think they called it. I forgot the...
But I did enjoy how once Baby Yoda, the character, lifted that thing up, he slept for a day.
He was spent. He was spent. He's like, I'm pooped. I need a nap. I just held that thing up. Well, what do you guys think? Are they setting us up for a Baby Yoda fucking reveal or murder, or does he turn dark? Or people will be so fucking mad. I'm like, if you have balls, kill Baby Yoda.
I think I read somewhere that Favreau confirmed that Baby Yoda is going to be in season 2, and that's all he would say.
Oh shit! So there is a
without
season
spoiling
2.
anything.
Okay, so maybe he gets kidnapped.
I did read that somewhere.
I mean,
yeah, I think they could be setting up something else for future Star Wars movies for all we know.
Absolutely.
Like fast forward, a couple hundred years in the future, and and they're doing the backstory for this, so that kind of builds the hype for the next trilogy. Maybe there's some world building here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, because by the time this new trilogy is ending, he would be in his early hundreds.
Yeah, he'd be like 90 or 100, right?
So presumably he'd be at least twice the size he is now, and again, given that he can already lift up crazy fucking alien rhinoceroses with his mind and stuff, he'll be quite strong.
And now you got yourself a new Yoda to carry you forward. That's kind of interesting.
But like, he needs a master. He needs, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of unknowns there. Like, is that, or they could, again, maybe they're going to turn that character into like the first Dark Yoda character or something.
Ooh,
like
Dark Yoda would be great. We haven't seen Dark Yoda.
Interesting. Again, given the surprise of dropping this into that show to begin with, like, why wouldn't he have shown up until now, right? Because he should be kind of in the mix if Luke is starting a new Jedi Order and he's got a school going on. You would think that he would find this character, yeah?
Yeah.
All good questions.
You know what I mean?
Maybe
Like,
he's still young to start the training. I don't know. Because what would he be, like 5 or 6? I think they start training when they're like 8 or 9, maybe.
The Yodas, or they just the kids?
The kids, yeah. They usually recruit them in their like
years.
Under 10, I guess, right? Like, because that was.
Yeah, that was the whole point they brought up in the first movie was, like little Anakin that was like 10 or 12. I think he was supposed to be 12.
I think,
was too old to start the training because they wanted to indoctrinate him, at a younger age.
Which again made no sense. It was more that they had sensed that he was going to become a crazy mass murderer, and they probably should have said that at the time.
They sensed much fear in him.
Who's cuter? Baby Yoda, Baby Groot, Gizmo from the Gremlins, or Wicket the Ewok, or Rug Boy? Who's cuter out of that set of people?
Rug Boy does the best hand in the pants.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's the dirtiest of the bunch, no doubt.
Maybe Rug Boy when he was a baby?
Baby Rug Boy.
Baby
oh
Rug
my God,
Boy?
Baby Rug Boy would destroy the internet.
Is there dude? Why is there not a Baby Rug Boy puppet or a doll available on Patreon?
We should so behind on this.
Somebody made that Rug Boy. Somebody can also make a mini Rug Boy.
Baby Rug Boy. It's sitting there in front of me the whole time.
Man.
What the fuck? At least I can make a T-shirt.
In my opinion, the Baby Yoda has trumped everything now because of that hide and seek episode where he's like pewing around stuff. Although the Baby Groot opening to Guardians 2 was pretty incredible.
He was, but the Baby Yoda just has more history to it, I guess, to be. But he looks like fucking Gizmo the Gremlin.
100%. It's probably the same puppet repainted with less hair.
Probably. I'm glad they used the puppet too, as opposed to CGI. Because I heard they told Werner Herzog they were thinking of using a CGI Yoda instead of the puppet, and he called them cowards.
I was gonna say, did he call them pussies or something like that?
You are cowards. Use the puppet.
Werner's so good.
I
love that guy.
He's got the best German accent.
But I do enjoy this. Like, when you see the little Yoda walking along, it does kind of look like somebody's under the stage with their hand in it.
Yeah, or like an animatronic puppet thing.
But I enjoy that more than it would be just as a cartoon walking across the screen. Like, it gives it a bit more tangibility. You know what I mean?
That's what I liked about these new trilogies, especially what JJ did, was the tactile puppets. Like, you could tell they're puppets and they're real sets and they're there. And that's what Star Wars is. Not all green screen.
And the behind the scenes stuff of these new movies, very much like live sets.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Even the Death Star, like, they built like a whole Death Star in the water set.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
It's
the production value's great. I think that's what they needed to do is try to bring back that realism of the original trilogy where they didn't have special effects, but then you also add the special effects in on top of it. It's like a combination of the first two techniques of the prequels. And the
you embellish
trilogy.
a little bit. And I love how Mando often gets his ass handed to him, and he's not the best, except in this episode 6, he took down like 5 fucking droids from behind. That was amazing. That was
a great
like,
scene.
He is the most badass out there, and like that's why you need him around.
Well, yeah, the other characters in the episode gave him reverence, right?
Yeah.
Like he was clearly notified or identified as the most badass of them. If they were going to take him down, they needed to work together, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. Again, I think the show is good, but it can do better, and I think it, as you said, it just needs a better overarching plot. But at the same time, I do enjoy the episode to episode kind of.
It's fun to watch, but like you said, it needs more meat. I need something more I can dig into. Just a little bit.
I think there will be. Again, they have the history of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
They still have the possibility, again, of the Boba Fett kind of comeback, which would be interesting to see just for the sake of it. Did he actually make it out of the
He did, right? He's not dead. Come on, Darth Maul's not dead. He's not dead
Right.
either.
Joe, tell me what the name of the beast is. What is
The Sarlacc pit.
The Sarlacc. The
Yeah.
Sarlacc monster. Thank you.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah. So there was some extended universe, and I think it was a Bounty Hunter trilogy of books where like he actually survived the Sarlacc pit.
He crawls out of there.
And I heard him so long ago, I can't forget.
I think
can't remember.
it's assumed that he in some way made it out of there after Return of the Jedi. Now, it's accepted.
He may show up, but you know, I love that they're getting away from like original trilogy characters and they're just creating the new characters with the Mandalorian. Though, you know, like there's more mystery there, like we talked about earlier.
That's why it works so well.
I would love, again, they won't do it because it's too risque, but I would love to see a scene where like Boba Fett tries to confront the Mandalorian and he just shoots him through the head. I mean, it's there was a couple of fan theories that I read like years ago that were like Boba Fett's like is a persona, it's not a person.
It's like a title.
So, you know, multiple people have been Boba Fett. Like that guy under the helmet isn't the one you saw from episode 2. Because he's been murdered somewhere along the way and replaced by somebody else.
Or a clone. I mean, isn't he the son of the clone dude? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's the unaltered clone. So
yeah.
He's like the one that's free to make his own decisions and shit, right? You could do something interesting with that, but I feel like the Star Wars franchise would be loath to kill off Boba Fett. But I think guaranteed we're going to see a cameo from him at some point. Like there will be maybe in the next season, there'll be some kind of interaction between him and the other Mandalorians and them being like, you're not a Mandalorian.
Well, right. He's not an actual Mandalorian, which I think that conflict is great. And now the Mandalorians they blew up their spot. They got no place to hide.
No.
After that third episode.
Well, they clearly don't like people pretending to be Mandalorians. So
yes,
it would be an interesting tie-in to see that. Like
he's a fake Mandalorian.
I love the world building, you know. I don't know if you guys talked about this on the show, but Jon Favreau actually did a little bit of a guest stint on Star Wars: The Clone Wars as a Mandalorian.
Oh, he did some voice for that. Yeah, he was the voice of that one gunner Mandalorian.
That cartoon is cartoon is amazing. It is very, very well done. Have they released any of the last episodes yet? Like, because
it's supposedly coming out season 7 on Disney Plus, but I'm not sure when they're releasing.
There's going to be a 7. I mean, that to me, that is the most Star Wars feeling thing that I have seen in a while out of all this stuff.
The first season and a half, I think, or so, is very cartoony because it still ties into the movie.
Yeah,
and then it gets really fucking quite dark. There's a lot of again Anakin exploring his like dark side and Obi-Wan and whatever else. Like Obi-Wan's the general, he doesn't have time to pay attention to Anakin, so Anakin's getting fucking shit up and doing whatever else. And then the Ahsoka Tano is a great character. Like there's so much in that show that is. But actually the last episode of that show was Yoda with Darth Bane, who I mentioned earlier.
Oh, Darth Bane was in the show.
Oh, that was in the Lost episodes. That was the Lost episodes season 6, which wasn't a true season.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, so that was supposed to be some filler episodes, I think, for the season 7 that got canceled.
Oh, okay.
After Lucas sold it out to Disney, so they still had some in the can, and they decided to just do like a partial season they called the Lost episodes, and that had the one with Yoda and meeting with Darth Bane on the Sith planet. I think.
Yeah, he was at a Sith temple, and
yep, yeah.
And Darth Bane tries to like in some way take him over, and he realizes that Yoda's not someone to be fucked with. And Yoda basically like deters him, but it's like it's a shocking moment for Yoda because it's in the midst of where there shouldn't be this deep Sith kind of connection kind of thing. So.
Yeah, if you're a fan of The Mandalorian and you're a fan of Star Wars and you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you need to go back and watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
Not all episodes are great, but man, there's some great gems in there. One of my favorite is the end of season 6, and there's this whole scene where Sidious, senses that there's a disturbance in the Force, that he's got a rival, and it ties in with this whole Mandalore plot and Darth Maul, and it's such a great episode.
The Emperor and the Darth Vader stuff is few and far between in that series, but when it does surface, it's awesome.
Well, I mean, and like you said, I think all the Mandalorian stuff comes from Clone Wars and Rebels, right? That's where that's all. It's all canon now. So if you want to know more about them,
and Rebels is very good too. Actually, I was blown away how much I enjoyed that. I was pretty hesitant to get into it, but because again, it was like the Ezra Miller kid with the blasters, lightsaber thing. But at some point, that gets destroyed, and he becomes a full-out Jedi. Like it's not a, And then he toys with the dark side quite a lot because he gets corrupted by Darth Maul. And then there's the whole Sith holocron thing. It introduces a lot of really key concepts to the lore of Star Wars and the Jedi and the Sith and stuff, without it being without it bogging down everybody in the details. It's just he finds this thing, it kind of fucks him up. It's called the Sith holocron. But yeah.
And why that's so good is because, that was also executive produced by Dave Filoni, which did the Clone Wars.
Yep, Greg Weisman.
And now he's doing The Mandalorian.
See, Dave Filoni, I don't know why they don't give this guy a movie. This guy clearly gets Star Wars, and you see his influence on Mandalorian, and just to give him a movie. Give him the next fucking movie.
Fans have been asking
It's not hard.
Maybe we'll see
that. Well, again, Ryan Johnson said he was working on some trilogy, but now it seems like it's canceled.
But that's up in the air. And Kevin Feige was going to work on a movie. I think that's who they need. I think they need Kevin Feige and the Marvel guys to come and help them with the TV shows and the movies.
As long as they recognize that the way that the movies need to be built together,
it's a little bit different, right? Yeah. No, but Feige's a big Star Wars fan as much as a Marvel fan. I think he would get it.
You would think, so. He doesn't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Feige gets, what Star Wars is. And I think the current leadership with Kathleen Kennedy, they're trying to reinvent the wheel. You already have a success and a fan base, and I don't know why these executives think that they need to make it, for the modern audience and change things around. You have this modern epic that's Star Wars, the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell,
space western, samurai, all that.
Stick to your core. Stick to your core.
The Clone Wars and Rebels are popular shows amongst the demographics they're looking for, right? So so the stories work. The stories do work. It's just you got to fucking approach them in the right way.
Well, they didn't have. This is what I can't understand is how you don't have a plan for this new trilogy. You clearly did not have a plan. Why wouldn't you have mapped this shit out beforehand?
And made the directors commit to it. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes,
it was rushed. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when they were first making The Force Awakens, there were some reports and articles that came out where JJ was asking for more time to craft the story because I think he wanted to do it right. But Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger just pushed him through and said, "Nope,
this date.
This is a release date. We got to get this going."
Damn,
and you can tell it's rushed.
I mean, Force Awakens was a good movie. I think it was fun. It's funny. My opinion of it goes down every time I watch it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, the first time I watched it, I think most of us were like, fuck yes, Star Wars is back."
Yeah,
I saw some crazy lightsaber battles. I got some fucking crazy X-wing fights and everything else. That's awesome. And then the next time I watched it, I was like, wait, why does this happen? Why would this happen? That doesn't make any sense. Why would this person know that person? Why would this work? Okay. But again, I think Abrams. I know he's not famous for taking his own, for taking criticism and adapting, but in this case, because I think he loves Star Wars so much,
I
think he probably took everything that he got from that first movie, plus all the shit from the second movie.
Yeah, and more.
Which literally shat on everything that he tried to do in the first movie.
So, how do you reconcile this? And ending things is hard.
But in some ways, actually, now that I think about it, I think Ryan Johnson did set him up to to be a success on this in some ways, because like
that's one way to look at it. Like
he doesn't need to wrap up the Luke Skywalker story anymore. That's
not anymore. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
All you need is a cameo from Luke being like, "Yes, take this brother."
You can
down.
focus on
or something.
Focus on the new people a little bit altogether. Finally,
but like, yeah. We're supposed to be talking about the Mandalorian.
That's all right.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we're getting sidetracked.
But I still am confused about the Kylo Ren thing more than anything. I don't know if they're trying to rescue him.
Yeah.
Or if they're trying to make him the most evil person ever. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Is there going to be redemption? Like, it's not clear.
They're going redemption route for sure.
There's so much that movie has to do. I can't imagine they could do all of it.
They're going redemption.
Well,
sorry,
I wanted to bring up one thing about the canon of what's in Star Wars now, because Joe, you talked about the books that were in canon and they're not, but now you have, Rebels and Clone Wars in canon. You have the Mandalorian in canon. You have that new game, Jedi Fallen Order, that takes place between Episode 3 and 4. That's all canon, supposedly, with Inquisitors, and Cal is one of the Jedis who survived and hid. So that's pretty crazy. And then the theme parks. There's shit that happens in these awesome rides that's also canon.
Really?
Yes. Apparently, like, if you need the whole story, you have to read the comics, you got to read the new books, you got to watch all these TV shows, you got to play the video game.
So as somebody who's read a lot of the comics,
yeah,
you don't need the comics.
No?
Their backstory.
I like a lot of the comics, though. They're very good.
They're actually the Darth Vader series.
Yes.
I recommend you picking up every single issue up until the current point, because like it's transitioned a few times between writers and artists and everything else, but it's stayed amazing. And it's again, it's usually the rebels sending like entire fleets against them, and
he just takes them down. Yeah,
or he's fighting a old school Jedi master for something or whatever. Like, and there's contained stories within a few issues. You know what I mean? Like something you can actually buy.
I want to see a Vader movie. Why haven't they given us a fucking Vader solo movie?
I think it's because there's been pushback on the old school stuff, right? Like, it's like, do people want to see this? Of anything of the old school shit? Yes.
Yes.
We want to see a Darth Vader movie between Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, between 3 and 4. Show me what the fuck Vader was up to. That would be fucking amazing.
All he was doing was going around and killing Jedi and building himself into a stronger person, or a stronger Sith.
And getting his rep. How did he get his rep?
And that would be an incredible movie. Like, come on.
Are you guys interested in these theme parks at all in the Disney worlds? What's it? Galaxy's Edge, and they just opened Rise of the Resistance, which I believe is their biggest, most ambitious Star Wars ride.
Oh, nice segue. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. The thing that I think is really crazy that they did this, though, there was this lady, I think her name is Colleen, used to be in charge of the creating the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. She was actually recently asked to step down because of low attendance for Galaxy's Edge. And she made the decision to only base the Star Wars parks on just the sequel trilogy, which I think was a mistake. I should have included
Catherine Powell.
Prequels. And
that was it.
Oh, Catherine.
President of Disney Parks Western Region, leaves the company after more than a decade.
She's going somewhere else where she's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. She'll be okay.
Probably. Should be worried about heads of corporations, but this is big money for Disney. I sent you guys this video of this dude who goes to the Rise of the Resistance park, and this fucking ride, it's 18 minutes long.
Looks so good.
It's like their longest ride. In the line, you're already in the story.
The scene where they get off the transport,
yes,
and they're in the Star Destroyer with like
there's rows of stormtroopers,
and it looks out at space, and
yes,
you're like,
it's an open dock, and you're in the Star Destroyer. And at first, I'm like, are those real people? And then
apparently, I've been told there's actually wind blowing. Like it's like
shit.
So it's like space is there. Like it's like it creates like it's cold. It's you know what I mean? Like it's the atmosphere is
wow, and it's they have a free range, free track system ride where it could just kind of go around everywhere. They've built life size AT-ATs, and there's a TIE fighter that you like go by that's right there, and they're blasting cannons. You're a prisoner on a Star Destroyer, and you have to escape. Like, you are immersed in this story. There's a hologram with Daisy Ridley as Rey, and I'm looking at the shot, and I'm like, I don't see what this is being projected on. How the fuck are they doing this?
No, it's an actual proper hologram.
It's a fucking actual hologram.
Oh shit!
Like the Tupac style stuff where they project it properly.
Holy shit. Joe, you watching that video? Was it Geek Boner?
Geek Boner.
You know, actually, I did not want to watch it because I want to be surprised when I go see the ride. But yeah, I heard it's amazing. They spent more money on this one, I think, than the
Galaxy's
previous
Edge.
Millennium Falcon ride. And it's still going to be a lot of fun. And I think eventually this park is going to be very popular when they start adding some more attractions. I mean, they only have the 2 and plus the lightsaber experience.
Yeah.
I heard you have the cantina replica.
Right.
You can go drink some beer out of a Rancor horn or a Rancor tooth for $40 a pint.
Yeah.
But Imran, you were asking if we're interested in this.
Yeah.
Yes, Joe and I have already been planning our trip there together. This is the first time I'm going to meet Joe Henry in person.
Oh my God, that's adorable. No, that's a great
at a Star Wars theme park.
That's a great trip.
So we were planning on going in this kind of spring season, but I can't pull it off. And also, I kind of want to wait a bit longer. So I think we're planning to go in November now, Joe. I think is that the plan? Early October, somewhere in there.
If your Canadian ass tries to get down here like in the summertime, you're just gonna melt.
No. And we've talked about this. I told you I don't want to be like sweating through my clothing while I'm going through Star Wars land. So
the winter's gonna be like the summer for you. So then I think you'll be.
Well,
all right.
that's the best. Is Joe lives in Florida, and then Adam, you are all the way at the other north end of the fucking continent in cold ass Canada.
Ottawa is minus 15 right now.
Right now? Fuck that. Jesus.
It's very cold here.
What's the point of doing anything out there? God damn.
So yes, we're planning on going, and my first trip to Star Wars Land will be with Joe Henry. We're gonna go.
Look, if you guys do
build
this,
some lightsabers. We're gonna smoke some weed, and we're gonna have a great time.
I may try to join you fuckers. That sounds like a good time.
You should.
Hey man, you're welcome. You should totally come.
It would be awesome if we could build a little team to go.
Like it's been years since I've been to Disneyland, but watching on Disney Plus, they have this the Imagineering story documentary. There's 6 episodes. It's really good, and it really has brought a new respect for me on the craft of these Imagineers, the amount of time, the creativity, the imagination, the fact that everything's handmade, the advances in animatronics they have at the park. I would love to have that job. Like it just must be so much fun.
Well, apparently there's the park experience where you pay to get into Disney, and you pay to get into the Star Wars land, right?
Yeah.
Or you can choose to pay to stay in the hotel in Star Wars land.
There's that Galactic Resort, which is like, yes.
Which basically immerses you in the entire thing.
We talked about it. I read that story, yeah.
So when you open your little closet, you have like some Jedi robes to change into.
Like you can't not, you're there. It's like 3 days, 2 nights, and you're in a story, and everybody's in costume, and everybody's playing their part.
They don't like when you talk to somebody in the park, they're like, "Oh, hey, Outlander, what do you need?"
That's amazing. It's like $3,000 a night, though.
Yeah. I think it's if you can put together a team of 5 people, it amounts to like $2,000 each.
Yeah,
or $2,200 each. Canadian.
Maybe we should. Oh, Canadian. So that's like twice as much in U.S. We should get a group together. Yeah. There's a dude at work who went to Galaxy's Edge and he built a lightsaber and he brought it and it's fucking dope, dude. Like it feels nice. The construction's nice.
Rob Liefeld, who everybody hates, but also I kind of love because he still loves geek stuff in general.
Yeah.
His perspective on art is odd. But,
I love his enthusiasm. We have a drop of him that we use at the beginning of the show.
So he live posted him opening his Luke Skywalker lightsaber after his visit to Star Wars Land because he was one of the first people invited because he's part of Marvel, obviously. And everything else. And he even was like, "Oh my god!" He was just like, as he's holding, he's like, "This is the coolest fucking thing ever." He's like, "I just fired up my green lightsaber for the first time." And actually, I captured a moment from the video that I'll send you so you can post it. But it's like this look on his face. It looks like he just pleasured himself for the first time.
It's strangely satisfying to hold it, just like in the new game Jedi Fallen Order. It's so satisfying to force push a bunch of fuckers right over the edge. Like, it's amazing. Like, I just want to do that in real life.
I haven't played that game yet. I haven't bought a PlayStation 4 yet. I'm too poor because I just transferred jobs and everything else, but can't wait to buy a PlayStation 4. All I want is Spider-Man and I want Jedi Fallen
So
Order.
those are the two games I have, and I finished Fallen Order. It's the first game I finished, and Joe hasn't played it yet either, have you, Joe?
I have not, because I've been in the process of moving.
Yeah.
But Jedi Fallen Order, I'm definitely going to be playing that. I love all the Star Wars games.
And just like it's so satisfying to redirect blaster shots and send them back with a lightsaber. God, they nailed the fight. The fighting, what's the word? The fighting shit in this.
Mechanics.
The fight mechanics, yes. Where you got to block and dodge and strike. You can't just mash buttons. It's so sick.
I recently downloaded off the Xbox Arcade, even on my Xbox 360. The Jedi, like the Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Fallen Order. Jedi.
Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
That's what you're probably
The Force Unleashed games were okay, but they were too formulaic. No, it was the ones you recommended for me before that, Joe.
The Knights of the Old Republic?
Knights of the Old Republic was good too.
Yes.
But the one between those, there was it was a first-person shooter Jedi game. Anyway. Jedi Apprentice, I think it's called.
So there was a couple. There was, that's the one with Kyle Katarn.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. That's the old one. I think that came out in the original Xbox.
And so the mechanics, the mechanics of playing it are difficult. Like it's
an old school game, but it's great.
It was built for like an old school pad and not a stick or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's a very fun, still a very fun game. And again, to me, it's again, you actually have to have, like, you try when you block a blaster shot, for example, you have to aim the lightsaber. You can't
you can't just hold it up.
You got to actually push the button. Like, you actually have to try
to stop it. Damn.
And that kind of stuff was very much kind of part of that old school Star Wars video game kind of phase. But anyway, but the games are good. But it's the Force Unleashed games were too pre-programmed. The stories in them were amazing.
Yeah. I mean, this Fallen Order is kind of like, it's on rails. There's a story you can kind of follow, like an Uncharted type thing, but it combines like Uncharted with Tomb Raider with this other fighting
open
game.
World aspects to it where you can explore.
Yes, you can go and find all the chests and shit if you want, but man, it's fucking good. Highly recommended. All right, this has been some great geeky shit. I want to wrap this up with this question for both of you. Back in 2012, Disney buys Lucasfilm for $4 billion. The franchise has made $9.3 billion. It's the second highest grossing film franchise worldwide behind the MCU. With all what's been going on, would you consider Disney's Star Wars acquisition a failure or a success? Was it
floppy jock?
Or did it work? Geek boner. What do you think, Joe? Let's start with you.
I think it's going towards its way of being a success. I think when you look at the money that they've made since the sequels and on the movies, even with the failures,
they still made a lot of money in those movies.
It's still made a lot of money. They still make a ton of money in merchandising rights, even with the poor sales of some of the Last Jedi toys. It's people still love Star Wars, and now with the hype with the Mandalorian, people are excited about it again, and they're clamoring for toys for that. So I think it's on its way to being a success. They just need some more hit movies under their belt.
They need a roadmap, too. They need some kind of plan, maybe.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with Joe. I don't have that much to add to that. That's it makes a lot of sense. I think they're going towards the right direction. I think this Abrams movie, like I said, I hope it ends essentially with a cut shot at them in front of a space window on a ship, looking out at space, and then they can do whatever they want with Rey.
Just like the future is open kind of thing.
Finn and Poe later on, like a Resistance movie or whatever. You know what I mean?
Do those actors even want to come back? Like, is this the last we're going to see with them?
I think they've gotten so much shit over the last couple of movies. Yeah. Probably some of them don't, but Daisy Ridley has said she'd love to come back and do more. I think, and again, she's the new Skywalker character, but she doesn't have to be the only one. And again, we'll see. I think they're on the right track. Again, the TV shows give them a bit more leeway to tell the backstories and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Obi-Wan stuff that they don't need to put into a movie.
Yeah.
I really think the Han Solo story would have been awesome as a 8-episode TV series.
That would have been a great Disney Plus show.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you can introduce him. You can have him as a kid. You can have his whatever happened to him that turned him into a dick, and then transition him over.
I mean, clearly it was a smart purchase by Disney, but I feel like they were hampered by the Skywalker saga, this trilogy, and the expectation of fans from 40 years of nostalgia. But now that they've kind of are done with that, the smart thing is to break free and give people new characters, new worlds. Let's not see the same fucking sand of snow forest planet over and over again. And new side characters that you breathe life into.
But I do think we will see an expansion. I think writers and the other people, hopefully that's one of the reasons they're canceling some of these, like the Rian Johnson stuff and whatever else.
Yeah.
So they can move it forward instead of it being always anchored in the same nostalgic kind of stuff. But at the same time, again, like I said, I want to see an Old Republic movie. But it doesn't need to be tied to anything. That's the whole point. So far back that it doesn't connect to anything.
It wouldn't matter. Or like you said, so far in the future that it doesn't. There's no way it can connect to anything outside of a fully grown Baby Yoda, maybe.
And let's not forget, we're getting the Obi-Wan series with Ewan McGregor.
That's fantastic.
I cannot wait for that.
I mean, how you got Ewan McGregor? How's that? They can't fuck that up. That's very exciting.
Well, man, there is, again, if you have some time at work, you can find on YouTube the Obi-Wan book. It's actually very, very well voice acted as well.
So it's that time period between.
It's him on Tatooine. And again, I don't expect him to follow that, but it's a cool example of what you can do and put a story in.
So Luke would be like a small boy.
Yeah, he's between his baby years when he dropped him off.
Yeah, and what he's doing.
And his formative years as a teenager when he actually starts to take interest,
Oh, dude, that would be sick. All right,
so
look good.
We may see a teenage or young Luke.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind that. That'd be kind of interesting.
Take Sebastian Stan.
Oh shit!
CGI him and put him young, put him smaller. he looks exactly the same.
Mark Hamill.
It's so fucked up that those side by side pictures.
Yeah,
like from their mid-20s.
That's
whatever.
Not a deep fake. Those are just straight photos. Yeah.
And that, but again, I don't know where that would fit. Like, if you want Sebastian Stan to do a Luke Skywalker movie,
that's one of those things that like it could either go really well or go really bad.
I mean, the place to put it would be between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Right?
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be the place to do it for sure.
These are all great ideas. All right, let's end with this. Joe Henry, what is your favorite Star Wars movie out of all of them?
So originally it used to be Empire Strikes Back, but it's getting kind of edged out a little bit by Revenge of the Sith because I love Sir Ian McDermott's portrayal of Sidious in that. Ewan McGregor. I even like Hayden Christensen. Like just seeing how the Sith rise to power, I thought was just it's just.
I mean, and seeing him turn into Vader is something we've been waiting for 30 years to see that shit, and they did it. Adam Morris. Favorite Star Wars movie of all time?
I have to go with the classic. Empire Strikes Back is still the best of them. The lightsaber fight, the emotion involved. It was actually a well acted movie. There's so much good and interesting shit in that movie, and it sets up the third movie so well.
I love that.
At the same time, again, I can relate to what Joe's saying as an old school Star Wars fan, and somebody that really wanted to see this shit come to fruition and see what the Emperor had and what Vader had and how it all tied together. Revenge of the Sith is a vastly underrated movie. It's, if you can ignore some of the poor delivery of the lines,
George is not good at writing dialogue either. He's horrible at writing dialogue.
No, he's not. He's a bad director of that shitty dialogue, apparently. Yeah. But there are moments in that movie where you really feel for that character, for Anakin when he's falling. He's got no other choice, whatever else.
You are the chosen one.
You're supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
He just annoyed me so much, though, in that second movie. Jesus.
Sorry, Joe just reminded me, like, Ewan McGregor's performance in that movie is what makes it.
Yeah.
Because you legitimately, like, again, even when he's watching him burn on the side of the thing, you feel, it's like, you feel that he might actually be upset by that. Like it doesn't feel like he's watching somebody burn on the edge of a CGI pond. He put some good emphasis on it. But,
say what you will about the prequels. They did give us some dope shit, like the Darth Maul scene, fucking baby Yoda jumping around with a lightsaber, seeing Anakin turn into it.
Darth Maul should have survived through at least the second movie.
That'd have been great, but and
Dooku should have killed him.
Dooku was great, and they killed him off too early. Yeah,
but Dooku should have killed Darth Maul to take over as the apprentice or something.
At least there's some new shit in those prequels, despite the stuff holding him back. Now, for me, my favorite, I agree, Empire is the best one, but for me, for nostalgia reasons, I'm gonna pick one nobody picks. My favorite movie. When I was thinking about it, is going to be Return of the Jedi.
Oh, shit.
Strictly because of the redemption, the coming back. It was the first thing I saw. The Ewoks were cute and they were little guys and they took down fucking Imperial troopers. And, the scenes with Vader and Luke and the Emperor at the end are fucking amazing.
That lightsaber fight where Luke is just pounding him into the ground.
Yeah.
It's you feel it. You know what I mean? It's a well acted scene, considering that they're playing with laser swords and he's killing his fake dad. It's a well acted.
It's the one I remember the most, that I feel more emotionally connected to Return of the Jedi for some reason. So that's gonna be my favorite.
As a kid, that was my favorite one because I'd loved seeing Luke come full circle and become a Jedi, and just seeing him be a badass was it was so awesome because you're waiting 2 movies for that to happen, and then you kind of see the culmination. But
that again, we talked about it earlier, but that opening scene where he comes in and he just he waves the 2 guards away, you know what I mean, and they're choking. Which also is interesting because he's the only Jedi you've ever seen force choke anybody.
Yeah, that scene too. Or Palpatine's
he chokes the shit out of those 2 warthog guys and just kills them. It's
Palpatine's like, Master Yoda, you survived. Surprised. I love that. Oh, I do want to add one thing. I almost feel like I have to give an apology here to Matt Delhauer. He's one of my favorite special guests that you guys have with What the Fuck Happened. I know he's a big Last Jedi fan. Delhauer, I'm sorry, man. I still like all the Star Wars movies, and I know everybody loves to shit all over the prequel, so I didn't want to shit all over your favorite movie. I hope it didn't come off like that.
It's fine. Let's shit on his movie.
Oh, shit. We gotta have both you guys on and debate fucking Last Jedi. It'll be fascinating. But that's a podcast for another day. This one is done, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me and geeking out with Star Wars with me. Is there any plugs you guys want to give? Where can the people find you, Adam Morris?
You can find me on Twitter, but I'm not gonna tell you where to find me.
Okay,
you find me.
If you find him, you find him. Joe, you got anything to plug? Anything at all?
Nothing at all. I mean, I don't do a whole lot of social media, but if you're in the Jock and Nerd Nation and you want to geek out and talk about stuff, just hit me up.
Join the nation. Everybody hangs out there.
Way to make me look like a dick, Joe. Yes, you can also hit me up on the Jock and Nerd Nation.
See, Joe knows what's down. He knows how to fucking pull a plug. Visit the show notes for this episode, listener, jockandnerd.com/306 for links to everything we talked about, how to subscribe so you never miss a show. Tell your friends, spread the geekery. Of course, you can find the show everywhere you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher. We're in your car. We're on your Amazon Echo. We're on the Alexa. We're everywhere. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, listener, for listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. We'll check you out next time.
Jocktastic. Get your hand off my penis!
Jock and Nerd.